out their full menu at greatwallrestaurant.us.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Broadcasting live from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and streaming live right now on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@TheGailey Show. This is The Gailey Show. I'm your host, JP Darabagosian. Hello to our executive producer, Jim Pounds, who's in the studio with me.
Hey, all.
And Brett Johnson is in the control room today. Hi, Brett. No, he's not. He's not on mic. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. How about you guys?
Good. Good. I mean, I don't know, whatever good means this week.
Yeah, good point.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So anyhow, we have a great show for you today, if I say so myself. Reverend Harry Hartigan is going to join us to talk about creating community with older LGBTQ adults. Later on in the show, we will continue our coverage of the executive orders that were issued earlier this week. But up first, Reverend Harry Hartigan, who was ordained at St. Teresa's Catholic Apostolic Church in North America. He is one of the organizers of the Let's Do Lunch series. These are monthly lunches for older members of the LGBTQ community to enjoy each other's company and learn about services and resources for seniors. Reverend Hartigan, welcome to the Gailey Show.
Thank you very much, JP. Nice to be with you.
Yeah, I think we talked last summer, I think, when we were on the Matt McNeil show, guesting over there, and what a different world we live in now.
An amazingly different world. Right?
I'd be curious to, if I may, to just start off the conversation of, given that you do with older LGBTQ adults, like, what is your assessment or take or feelings of what we're seeing so far with the new administration?
It's certainly caution and fear. There's a great deal of fear. We had a lot of folks, we were starting to get folks who were transgender coming to our luncheons, which are bi-monthly now. And those folks seem to have disappeared.
Really?
Yeah. There seems to be an overriding fear of what's to come. And that's frightening in many ways. I just had a discussion with one of the community groups, and I had done something with them, and they asked if I just wanted my first name and initial, and I said, I hide from no one. I refuse to hide. And they're coming for me, come on, right? And I mean, we're yet to see what's going to happen. It is frightening. I hope that things simmer down, that the rhetoric quiets down, that we don't have all of the fear running. But I give the Episcopal bishop a grade of 5 stars. What an incredible human being. Her homily, I don't know if you've seen it yet, during the inauguration at the National Cathedral. Hugely powerful.
Yes, clips from this.
Because she called out what's wrong. Now they're calling for her to be deported.
Of course.
Wait, what does that mean?
That's a good question, right? Because she spoke the truth. Right. Someone is encouraging that she be deported. I don't even understand that. Right. The craziness is so unbelievable. I can't wrap my head around it. I can't even try to understand it because it's so wild.
Right. Harry, one of the things that I know you and I have talked about is the isolation of senior people. And that's a stereotype, but it's also a truth. And that makes this kind of atmosphere or environment just doubly horrific for people, I'm sure. And I know one of the things that you've talked about is the some way, and I want us to try to talk about how this might be achievable, but some way of getting the older generation of the LGBT community and the younger generation of the LGBTQ community communicating with each other, because as I'm sure you would agree, we when you and I grew up, we lived in this kind of ignorance and hatred, and everybody kept quiet, and it was very low key or under the radar or even underground. And now we're going back to that, and so we actually suddenly have this information and perspective that might be beneficial to young people. I don't know, what do you think of that?
Well, I think it's hugely important. The more I think about it and the more I'm challenged by it, one of the things, right? Everything that's done is done by groupings or generationally, right? The baby boomers, right, kind of set a tone for what's done generationally. And as I think about it, I live in a senior building, but all senior buildings throw us into a generational pool that is locked. And the way we think about aging generations is bringing generations together, not dividing them. So we have a housing shortage for sure. But what would it do if we had senior housing that was more inclusive? Right. One of the things with the luncheons, right, we can't go out. Friends & Co. is the key player behind Let's Do Lunch. We can't go out and just openly invite other generations because of the funding sources,
right? Which
don't make sense, right? We need to bring people together, and that's the struggle, right? Is bringing the younger generation in with the older generation,
right?
And not being afraid of that,
right?
So I work at Pride Institute, right? Not far from AM 950. And Pride Institute, I'm shocked, right? A lot of these folks struggle with addiction of some kind. They have no clue what life has been like in the 50s, 60s, 70s. They have no clue. None. They look at me like I'm kind of a dinosaur. I have to remember who I'm working with because they're all younger.
Right.
They have not a clue.
Right.
Right?
Well, it seems like if in the past when you and I talked, it was social, let's get generations together socially. Now it seems critical in a different kind of way.
And a very different, Queer Immunity just opened in October, I believe. And it's working to try to build the bridges.
Yeah.
And I think it'll do a great job. One of the challenges is transportation issues, parking issues, those kinds of things. And, they have an elevator, it's accessible in that venue. But if they're going to park, they have to park at the old Calhoun parking ramp.
Right.
Or if they're lucky, they were working on the street when I was there. So I don't know what the street parking looks like, but I'm sure it's a challenge.
Yeah. It's better now. I think all that construction we were just there on Monday. And the most of that construction seems to be gone, as you would expect in the middle of winter. And so the street parking is back. But that brings up a good point
they're always working on Hennepin. They're always killing.
You're right.
Does the ramp not have an elevator? Maybe it doesn't. I don't know that.
I'm sure it does. It must have. I would think it does.
Yeah.
But you gotta take the elevator down. You gotta connect to the street. You gotta cross the street, right? And that's fine. And I think, as long as things like Metro Mobility can get in front of the building,
Right.
That there's some handicap parking available.
Right.
So the luncheon, right, we've been at the Danish American Center
Right.
for several years now.
Yeah.
And it's been a wonderful home, but we've outgrown it.
Mm-hmm.
This luncheon started 11 years ago with like 8 people.
Oh, wow.
There's that holiday luncheon that they held at the Women's Club, there's like 100 people. And on an average luncheon, you're getting 60 to 80 people.
Right.
Wow.
Well, we are getting older, so I would expect that's only gonna.
Right. And if you step back, and which I do at the luncheons, right? I step back from and just watch the interaction of the people. And what you see is the isolation and loneliness, the chance to be with other people, to the food insecurities, right? Many of these people bring their own to-go bags or containers, right? If there's leftovers, they're going to take them because there's food insecurity. But the loneliness, that isolation, and that just being with other folks. And they've developed, we're moving to Hennepin Avenue United Methodist.
I saw that email just came out this morning, didn't it? I think I just got it this morning.
Yep. You just got an email from James, the executive director. And it's incredible because it has a big parking lot, handicap accessible, welcoming, right? Probably the acoustics, from what I remember, are much better. That's my place of ordination, right? It was in the Border Chapel there.
Okay.
So I had to push to get it done because it's important that we allow people to be able to be there.
Right.
Right. When we outgrow the space, it's terrible.
I've got to fit in a quick break here. We're going to have more with Reverend Harry Hartigan after this break to talk more about the Let's Do Lunch series and issues facing our older LGBTQ adults. So stick with us here. You're listening to The Gailey Show on AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota. See you on the flip side.
Located just north of 50th in France, the Great Wall Restaurant has provided a delicious taste of authentic Chinese cuisine since 1981. Specializing in Szechuan and Peking dishes, they offer one of the most extensive menus in the Twin Cities. Favorites include hot and sour soup, pan-fried dumplings, and mushu pork with homemade Chinese pancakes. Stop by their Edina location or call for takeout at 952-927-4439. See the full menu at greatwallrestaurant.us.
Hi, I'm Bruce Klopfleisch. Join me every Sunday at 5 p.m. for Politics Matters. We'll talk about how civics, politics, and law affect you by highlighting a different topic each week. On this week's show, we cover the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution, Trump's birthright citizenship executive order, and the pardoning of the J6 insurrectionists. What does Pete Stauber think of it? Tune in Sundays at 5 p.m. for Politics Matters with Bruce Klopfleisch to discover why government and civics matter. And podcast the show anytime on your favorite app.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950 for Snap Construction again. Does your home feel colder than it should with the furnace constantly running? Or do certain rooms always feel colder than the rest of the house? Those are signs the attic in your home may need an insulation upgrade. Snap Construction can help by providing a free energy audit for your home's insulation. The average cost of getting new insulation can cost much less than a new furnace. Plus, Snap Construction is a BPI certified installer. That means if you use Snap for your next insulation project, you qualify for up to $650 in total rebates from your energy provider. After my free inspection, my insulation upgrade was completed within a few weeks and the rebate check was in the mail. Snap to it and reduce your heating bill this winter with Snap Construction. Call 612-333-SNAP. That's 612-333-SNAP for your free energy audit when you mention AM 950. Snap Construction, arguably the most well-reviewed exterior contractor and insulation company in the metro.
If you go to shoprainbowrd.com, you will find an amazing variety of adult novelties, literally thousands of items that you can peruse in the privacy of your home and have shipped to your door. Plus, in the store, you can find swimwear, casual wear, underwear, everywhere. Rainbow Road is located at 109 West Grand Street near Loring Park. Gift cards are available for the hard to shop for. Go to shoprainbowrd.com.
Winter reading, losing yourself under a blanket with the fireplace blazing away while submerging yourself in a book and trying to finish just one more page? Winter nights are the perfect time to read, and that's where Next Chapter Booksellers can help. They're independently owned and have all the bestsellers and new releases. Not sure what to get? Their friendly booksellers are great at recommendations. That's your winter reading headquarters. Next Chapter Booksellers off Snelling and Grand. More at nextchapterbooksellers.com.
Welcome back to the Gailey Show. I'm JP Nervagosian. We're talking with Reverend Harry Hartigan, an organizer with the Let's Do Lunch series, a monthly event to create community with older members of the LGBTQ community. More important now than ever, given the political situations that we're finding ourselves in. Reverend Hartigan, I when I, a few years ago, was working in LGBTQ health equity, was finding research that was being given to me, and we were doing our own research with this organization around isolation and this phenomenon that is very unique to our time period here in the United States, which is that we have a whole generation of folks who have lived either the majority of their life or a good portion of their life out of the closet, so to speak, however folks want to define that. But now they're kind of entering this part of their life where they may have to go into either senior housing or, assisted care living, etc., and that these systems aren't necessarily set up for them. And then they're finding themselves having to go back into the closet or hide who they are. Those are the same things. Can you talk to us about that isolation and you were talking about senior housing, about ways that we could address that through housing?
Well, I think one of the issues, right? Senior housing, there's not a specific, right? Incorporating everybody into housing is important. Educating folks. So I lived in a building in South St. Paul. Jim knows. Very conservative area, right? But I was pretty out. Matter of fact, right after I moved into the building, I hung the gay flag.
I would say you were completely out.
I tried to be, right? And they didn't know what to do with me, right? Most of those people had lived in that area all their lives. And I was a challenge for them. And there were at least, I know, one other, maybe two other gay folks, but they weren't out. They were not out. And they seemed to be just trying to make it through it, right? Because when you think about, we have a concept, or we hear the concept of aging in place. It's a lovely concept. A lovely concept, if it works. But I have a friend right now. She's in a condo building in Apple Valley, right? She bought this condo and she's on the second floor. She's losing her mobility. She's got to put the place up for sale. It doesn't have an elevator. And so she's challenged by all that. And, but she's afraid to do something radical and get into a housing situation that might be more effective. Right? And we see that, right? A year ago, August, when I came back from Ireland, a friend of mine who lived in Minneapolis in his own home, no one had been in his home for 20 years. No one in 20 years. But he had us all convinced that he was cleaning, he was baking, he was doing laundry. And I kind of knew it was not the case, but I had no reason to be in. If I went to pick him up, he always came out. And so he kept people at bay until the crisis hit. And his nephew was his power of attorney, and he hadn't even done his power of attorney. He'd done his will and his right, but he hadn't. Everything was a crisis. Was a crisis. And instead of talking about what might have been beneficial, he'd get mad, right? Yeah. I'd say to him, "Can I help you?" "No, leave me alone." Right? I'm like, "Okay, whatever you want." But I could see the decline. I could see his decline. But I hadn't been in his house. And when his nephew met with a realtor, the realtor said to me, I said to the realtor, "Oh, it's a cute 2-bedroom." The realtor sent me pictures. Not so cute. Oh. Right? And this is not a unique circumstance. This exists with the older community. They're afraid of change. They don't want to change. My kids laugh at me because I say to them, my grandson is driving. He's 16. And I say, he can take my car. And they're like, "But you might need it." I say, "But out my front door is the Red Line, the Minnesota Valley Transit, the Connect that'll take me anywhere in Egan." And I'm like, I have options. Yeah. And I need to think about those options, because if you put me in that box that say I should not do this, you're doing a disservice, right? You think I need to drive, right? One of the buildings that I was connected to, one of the women, she was driving in and she hit the wall, right? Yeah. Should she be driving? Probably not.
Probably not. Say, Harry, do you think, I have a theory that I'm very surprised there's only one, to my knowledge, senior housing LGBT building in the Twin Cities. Am I right about that? And
you are correct. It's the one on Lake Street, right?
And I expected once it opened, some developer would be smart enough to go, "Oh, maybe we should have another one." And literally nobody has. And it seems
like it comes down to funding, right? That building was focused on LGBTQ. Right. There's also several buildings around that in different cities that are like that. But if they get federal funding, it has to be, they can do priority for a certain group. Yeah. But they have to allow everybody.
Right.
And so Spirit on Lake isn't, there's some LGBTQ folks in there. But there's the library, but it's other folks as well. So, and that's okay, right? I don't think that's wrong. No. But I think what we need to do is, like the building I just moved into here in Egan is a vet preference building. So it's 55 plus. Veterans have preference. Right. Right. And that's great. It's also challenging, right? Because vets have their own unique set of circumstances. Right. Right. And not all good. Right. So.
Do you want to stick around with us, Reverend Hartigan? I've got a break coming up here, but can you stick around for another segment?
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like we're just getting to the beginning of this, and I want to keep going if that's all right. You are listening to AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota. This is The Gailey Show. Please support our sponsors. Tell them that you heard about them on The Gailey Show on AM 950. See you on the other side of this break.
Crooners is a classic supper club with a wide range of entertainment. Make your reservations for a parade of international, national, and local artists in the main stage showroom, the intimate Dunsmore Jazz Room, or outdoors at the seasonal Belvedere Under the Stars space. Or enjoy Maggie's Piano Lounge, no reservation or cover charge. Enjoy 4-star food and drinks with first-class supper club service. What are you waiting for? Go to croonersmn.com for more information and schedule. That's croonersmn.com.
You're listening to AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Hi, I'm Peter Solak.
And I'm Adam Ostrowski.
We are here at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces to talk about the joy of live fire cooking. Cooking over a live fire is the oldest and most basic form of cooking.
What's new is in the way a fire is handled and its heat is managed.
It's easier to experience and enjoy the smell and taste of food cooked over a live fire.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces sells and installs live fire grills, fire pits, and ovens. Let us help you experience the smell, the taste, the fun of cooking with fire.
Pizza was first made and
like
is still
it's
best made in an open fire oven. The radiant and conductive heat of a live fire is unmatched for wood roasting and baking artisan breads too.
Come see the many ways you can cook over a live fire.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces has over 35 working wood and gas units on display at the corner of East Franklin and Riverside Avenue in Minneapolis. More information at woodlandstoves.com. Find the fire that works for you. Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, out of the ordinary products and services since 1977.
Queermunity, the new LGBTQ cafe, social club, and resource center is now open in the heart of uptown Minneapolis. Dine in at our full-service cafe, rent a co-working desk or one of our spacious offices. Did I mention our program and social events calendar is stacked? None of this is possible without our members. Our basic membership plan earns you up to $120 annually that you can redeem in the cafe or on parking. Plus, enjoy a 10% discount at the cafe or on space rentals. Also, our community partners provide our members with exclusive discounts, and the savings only go up from there with our higher membership plans. We've never had an LGBTQ resource center that offers a dedicated space where queer folks can go to whenever they need to feel safe, seen, and loved. Your membership keeps Queermunity open 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and provides needed resources to members of the community regardless of income. The Queermunity needs you. Become a member today at queermunitymn.com. Mention AM950 at the cafe register for a free beverage with entree purchase.
Hello, Minnesota. This is Tom Hartman, and you can catch me every weekday from 11 to 2 right here on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It's smart radio for smart people.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for sunny skies today with a high near 10, tonight clear with a low of 1 below, and Friday cloudy with a high near 24. Catch Caleb Heron at the Fillmore in Minneapolis on March 9th. One of America's top gay comedians, Caleb brings his So True tour to town with sharp humor and big laughs. Plus, he'll be joined by special guests. Tickets for Caleb Heron at the Fillmore on March 9th go on sale this Friday at 10 a.m. at Ticketmaster.com. That's Ticketmaster.com.
Coming to you from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, this is the Gailey Show on the progressive voice of Minnesota, streaming live right now on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@thegailey-show. I'm your host, JP Derabagosia. Speaking of those Caleb Heron tickets that you were just hearing about, we've got a few that we can give away to folks. General ticket sales don't go on sale until this Friday, but I've got a few tickets that I can give away in pairs right now. So maybe we'll take the, if you're one of the first two callers to call in to our control room, you can get your pair of tickets to Caleb Heron. Caleb has it's a podcast that he does, and the show is on, where is that? March 9th? I believe it is. No, it is. Yeah, March 9th, Sunday, March 9th at the Fillmore. So Caleb has it's called So True with Caleb Heron. It's hitting the road and coming to a city near you. If you ever thought you could be in the room watching one of his recordings of his episodes, which you can check out online, it looks like it's going to be a riot. So first couple of callers to call in, I should probably give you that number. It's 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Call into our control room. The first two callers will get a pair of tickets each to this show on Sunday, March 9th at the Fillmore.
I thought we were on a beautiful music station there for a while with that lovely piano interlude,
right.
you know.
It's really nice to start our second half hour we're continuing with Reverend Harry Hartigan. we're talking about isolation and creating community amongst older LGBTQ adults, but also how can we can do that intergenerationally. But I know, Jim, you had a question on a related topic.
I have another theory, Harry, which you can, certainly roll your eyes at because I have a lot of them. But one of the things that I believe we're not doing, I felt it was not done for me, and I feel like there's a lot of people, not just in the LGBTQ community, but throughout seniordom, if you will, that we are not being prepared for the advent of Social Security and Medicare, which I certainly hope are respected and grown in this country if we're at all forward thinking in our thinking. So my feeling is people that are 59 or 60 or 61 are not getting honest information because they're getting sold one thing or another. But I feel like there isn't a resource, unless somebody goes to an elder lawyer or something. You can't get good information about what these processes are like, what you should expect, what your horizon is, there's just no way to think about it. And I've talked to an awful lot of people who are literally frightened over going through that threshold. And of course, it's a good thing. I mean, it's complicated like anything this profound is, but it's a good thing. And I don't think people look at it that way. It just seems like some terrible burden. And I wish there was a way we could prepare people 3 years before they go into the tunnel what to expect and give them some honest information.
Or sooner, right? I mean, the sad part about it is we are all aging. I wrote an article back when I retired, I think, called I never wanted to be 65. I never planned for it, right? I never thought about it until I was getting close to it.
Right.
Usually it's a crisis that brings people to look at the situation they're in.
Yeah.
I had a dear friend, she was just on a trip down, she was going on a cruise, I understand. And she was down in New Orleans. She died before she even got on the cruise. And I think I'm hoping she did what she needed to do to take care of her affairs, right? I make sure my children, right? I have 2 daughters living, and I make sure they never want to talk. They never wanted to talk about this, right? When I gave them the packet, right, with the power of attorney, the living will, the will, right, whatever. I'm like, they never wanted to talk about it. No. Well, now they're forced to, right? And I tell them, I'm trying to be proactive in what I'm doing, right? People look at me like, what? You sold your duplex? What were you thinking?
Right.
You moved to a senior building? What were you thinking? You want to give up driving? What were you thinking?
Well, I think you and I have had this conversation before at the Remember Project where you and I first met.
Yeah.
That had to do with, memory loss, early memory loss, not even really getting all the way to Alzheimer's, although that can be part of it too, that people tend to not seek help until they are in crisis, whether it's the individual or their loved one, their partner, their husband or wife, or their children. Nobody wants to talk about this until the car is literally going over the cliff, and then suddenly they go, oh, So I wish there was a way at whatever age, and you're right, what's that right age, that we could find a resource to start giving people honest answers to honest questions about what to expect as you approach Social Security. Because boy, you're going to be inundated with malarkey from people that have a selfishness about their messaging, or even a dishonesty about their messaging. And what you need is honesty and simplicity and confidence going into it. And I just feel like people are not prepared at all. And some of that's human. You're right. Human frailty.
And I think that we need to talk about it, right? And one of the things, the fear is if we talk about it, something terrible is going to happen. I don't know why, but right when I retired, one of the things I did was I plan for the day that I'm gone. I don't want anybody doing that for me.
Right.
I don't. I put down all of the guidelines, right? Everything is in place. It's actually paid for. I put it there because it makes sense. If somebody else has to come in and do it, it's a mess. You know,
Well, I'll give you the contrast. My two sisters and I couldn't agree on which coffin to get from my mother. She had made no plans, no provisions. We had no idea. And of course, we didn't agree. So what could have been an easy, relatively straightforward situation was, a maelstrom for no reason other than planning.
Right. When my mom passed away, right, she knew what she wanted. She expressed it. Mm-hmm. And we sat down with my dad. I come from a family of 9 children, right? And the group of us sat down with my dad and said, this is what mom wants. And he said, what's it going to cost? I said, $16,000. And I could see him choking. I'm like, Dad, just write the check. Right? You just write the check.
Right.
Right. That's what mom wanted. That's what mom deserves. Right. But unless you have some of those things in place,
yep,
and somebody knows, right? A lot of solo seniors don't have anybody to say, look it, I'm thinking this, or I'm thinking that. Right. And the legal ability, right? Legal help is expensive. And
we're gonna have a senior, or I guess what is David's specialty? Elder law, I guess would be his specialty, and we're gonna have him on at some point and talk about that. But I think it's a real gap that people don't want to think about or talk about, like you say, but if they don't, it's far worse. It's like you have to go through that because it's worse if you don't.
Right.
Somehow that's the message, I think.
When the hammer hits you, someone passes away and they haven't actually planned for it. And we don't know when that day is coming. None of us do, right? But when that day comes and you haven't told anybody or given anybody any instruction, hopefully you put it in writing so nobody can second guess you.
Right.
But to do those things, right? And aging we shouldn't be afraid of aging, right? Each generation has its benefits, and there's challenges, but it's how we approach it. Right? When we're working for a living, we're trying to make a living, we're supporting families, whatever. And that's our focus. But we got to say, hey, pay attention. I see my youngest daughter has 2 aging parents. So does my oldest daughter have the same 2 aging parents, right? They also have other complications, right? And my youngest daughter has a brother-in-law who is aging, who has a lot of issues. And she's trying to help all of these folks. And she's squeezed in there and she's got 3 young children. And so she's trying to guide them. Like my former spouse really didn't plan. And then the hammer came down, it was Parkinson's.
Ooh. I have a question which I think ties back in earlier to this idea of isolation. And I'm thinking to a particular time in my life where things weren't great and I was younger. And in my head, the idea of being an adult queer person probably wasn't in the cards. The way my life was going, I thought I was either going to, die one way or another. And when I got into my mid to later 20s, I thought, I have to start making some different choices because here I am. I wonder, do you think that might be playing because we have this isolation of older LGBTQ adults, which are really kind of the first generation of folks who have been out for part of their lives or most of their lives, entering in, that for those of us who are in our 40s or 30s, maybe even in early 50s, we haven't had that seeing ourselves reflected in older generations. So and we're dealing with so much drama/trauma just trying to get through our regular days and weeks and months and years, that because we don't have that representation or have that connection to somebody, that it's almost just kind of like, how do I even begin to think about something that doesn't even seem, it just feels completely anathema.
And you hit it right on the head. The problem is when we look at it, there's these boxes of generations, right? And when you talk, I sat down with one of my grandchildren, who is they, them. And we sat down for lunch, and there's so much they don't know. And it's always an eye-opener. I tell them that Grandpa has lived in a place where don't tell Dad. Right? We want to talk about this. Don't tell Dad. So how we get over those speed bumps, and some of them are huge, talking about what we really want out of life and what does the end look like, right? And we don't know. Tomorrow, any of us could be in deep trouble medically, right? A heart attack, right? An accident. All of those things can happen. And what do? A terrible storm, right?
Thank you, Reverend Hartigan, for this conversation today. Thank you for staying over with us as well. This has just been, I feel like we're still only at the top half of the iceberg here. And so I hope you're a friend of the show. I hope that we can have you back on here to talk more about this really important topic. And I think that something that I think would be really interesting also is the mentorship that can go both ways in that, because I think that because of our fight, our generations, and I'll include like the late Xers in this, because of our fight for coming out, all those stories are so much different now with the younger generations and what we can learn from that. But thank you so much for joining us here on The Gailey Show. We've got one more break. Absolutely. We've got one more break, and then we will be back here. Still lots to get to on The Gailey Show on AM 950 KTNF.
Thank you. Me off.
If you go to shoprainbowrd.com, you will find an amazing variety of adult novelties, literally thousands of items that you can peruse in the privacy of your home and have shipped to your door. Plus, in the store, you can find swimwear, casual wear, underwear, everywhere. Rainbow Road is located at 109 West Grand Street near Loring Park. Gift cards are available for the hard to shop for. Go to shoprainbowrd.com.
Greg Bakken here. Like you, I love good, fresh, delicious food. So I want to tell you about this treasure in Roseville called Maverick's Real Roast Beef. Maverick's has the best roast beef sandwiches I've ever had. Made fresh every order. Add fries or onion rings dropped in the fryer when ordered, and you have a winning combination. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has a lot more than roast beef, so check out their website, mavericksbeef.com, or check out their restaurant on Lexington in Roseville.
Are you struggling with cognitive decline, post-COVID brain fog, ADHD, concussion, tremors from Parkinson's, mental health issues, or simply striving to optimize your brain's potential? Hypercharged Wellness Brain Health specifically offers cutting-edge modalities including quantitative EEG, transcranial laser, red light therapy, all which work holistically, amplifying focus and cognitive functions. Utilizing these modalities in tandem enhances neural activities, optimizes the brain's electrical patterns, reduces anxiety, and enhances relaxation, ensuring a comprehensive approach to brain health optimization. All are invited to experience this life-changing journey towards achieving optimal cognitive and emotional well-being. Call or schedule online your free Hypercharge Wellness introductory session valued at $200 today. This is your opportunity to feel the difference for yourself. No matter where you are in the Twin Cities, there's a convenient location near you. Visit hyperchargeclinic.com now. Check out our 5-star reviews on our website. Hypercharge is hope.
Hello, everyone. This is Becky McNatten and Tara Martini, hosts of Feels Out Loud. Join us this Sunday as we process through feelings out loud, what it means and looks like to share of ourselves with others, and the impact to us when we don't. We also want to hear your questions about feeling out loud. Email us at comment@am950radio.com, and we may share your questions on the show.
This Sunday, grab your coffee, find a comfortable spot to relax, and tune in at 9 a.m. to live and share mental health with us together.
I'm Rachel Schroman, owner of Schroman Law, and I believe you deserve information. Our firm offers free quarterly estate planning seminars at our office in St. Paul. At these seminars, you can learn the basics of estate planning from an attorney to help you determine which estate planning documents will meet your needs and goals in an efficient and cost-effective manner. You can learn more and register at our website, schromenlaw.com/events. That's SCHROMEN law.com/events.
You're listening to The Gaily Show on AM 950 KTNF. I'm JP Derpagosian. I wanted to ask, hey, Brett, did we get any callers for those tickets yet?
Yeah, we had Bill in St. Paul getting the first ticket set.
Really? Congratulations. Fantastic. I hope you enjoy the show. Just seeing this stuff online, I was like, hey, look at that. Well, we've got another pair still to give away. So if you want to call in, the next caller can get a pair of tickets to Caleb Heron, who's going to be at the Fillmore on March 9th. The great thing about this, I mean, how cool, is that the tickets don't go on sale until Friday, and here we are. This is why you need to listen to The Gaily Show and follow us on Blue Sky, because we're also giving, we have announcements that happen there as well at thegailyshow.org on Blue Sky.
Well, the Fillmore is if you have not been there, it's a really cool space. I think it's an underutilized and underknown space, but it's a really cool.
But if you want to get another pair, we're giving away one more pair today. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205 is that number. First caller gets a pair of tickets to see Caleb Heron at the Fillmore. I wanted to do a little bit of updating on the executive order. I mean, that's obviously the big news this week, but specifically to the anti-trans executive order. Some newer reporting on it. So, I mean, you have to laugh, otherwise you're going to cry on this part, because in the order, it defines sex as starting at conception, which there's some interesting reporting in Rolling Stone where they're talking to the press relations manager at Advocates for Trans Equality. And they pointed out that there actually isn't any sexual definition at it's because it's just cells when you're at conception. Right. So technically all embryos initially develop along female lines. That's the actual science of that. So the executive order just basically said that at conception, all Americans are female, according to this definition in the executive order, which is obviously bonkers because this is not science.
That's the pesky thing about science, is that it makes that kind of thinking look just terrible.
Yeah.
you know, truth and facts and all that.
Right. And there is, so it is unclear right now how all of this is going to be enacted, what happens from this executive order. A couple of things that I have been seeing, and I do need to fact check this one more time, but I believe we're seeing with passports that if your passport has already been issued, that you can, all that information on there will still remain. That they are currently, as I understand it, they're not going to revoke your passport and then make you apply again. I had seen some, what was going to happen there, where there was a lot of consideration of that. If your passport needs to be renewed, however, of course, that will, it remains to be seen how they're going to do that. Because are they going to make us turn in birth certificates, I guess is the question of how they're going to do this. I did want to point out, though, that Lambda Legal has put out a statement that they are obviously going to file suit and a lot of these things. And, it was very, obviously it's very excruciating to think about all of this. But I found an interesting fact here about how the success rate that Lambda Legal had in the first Trump 1.0 rather, administration, and they did a very they won the majority of their cases against the administration. Particularly, there's three here I want to highlight. When the administration in his first term tried to quash workplace anti-bias programming in federally funded workplaces, Lambda Legal partnered with NAACP Legal Defense Fund, and they fought back and they won. They won that case. And in the another case where the administration wanted to give healthcare workers the right to deny care based on their religious convictions, Lambda sued. They did that with the American Civil Liberties Union, and they beat back even more pernicious efforts, as I'm seeing here, quoting their language on their website. And when the administration tried to kick out transgender soldiers out of the armed forces and deny trans people the right to enlist, the Lambda Legal filed suit, and they won that, and they're ready to do it again because they have the experience with that particular case. So I don't want to say that in the sense of, oh, well, everything's going to be fine. We've got Lambda Legal, we've got HRC. I don't want to be Pollyanna-ish about it. The reason why I wanted to bring it up is so folks can feel like there are things happening, that actions are being taken, that people who have an excellent track record in fighting a Trump administration are on it. I know this does very little to make us feel better or safe on a day-to-day basis, but I just thought it was really important. It kind of helped me get a sense of, okay, there is some ground underneath my feet on which to stand. So that is, know that's happening, because I was very, when the 20 odd attorneys generals from a variety of different states immediately filed a legal challenge to Trump trying to overturn the 14th Amendment in the Constitution as it relates to birthright citizenship, it was, I was like, well, we all knew he was going to come after the queer community and the trans community specifically. So why wasn't, these attorneys general ready to go on this? And hopefully they will see this work with Lambda Legal and they will get on that, because a lot of these, and I do want to see if we can reach out to Attorney General Ellison's office to see because a lot of these laws and would try to, overturn what Minnesota is trying to do in protecting trans and queer people here in the state. And so I'll be curious. We'll try to reach out to them and see to get their take on what they can do at the federal level to sue the federal government to stop these laws from coming in here. But it is, I hope it, I don't know. I hope that it helps knowing that. That is going to be our show for today. Thank you for tuning in. We will see you back here tomorrow at 2 p.m. for our Thinking Clearly, Thinking Queerly episodes. Coming up next is going to be the Matt McNeil Show. And after that, stay tuned for Native Roots Radio. Take care of yourselves, everyone. We will see you back here at 2 p.m. Check us out on Blue Sky at thegayleyshow.org on Blue Sky.
I think I'm going to dance.
Tune in for Philosophy Talk, the program that questions everything
except your intelligence.
Coming up, how to create virtuous leaders.
Good luck with that. Most politicians these days are power hungry.